Welcome to the lair of the Batty Boffin.
Hi there Batty fans, welcome to a Batty Boffin Maths video all about multiplying. Now we're not going to be doing times tables in these videos. There are other Batty Boffin Maths videos where we look at some games for learning those. So I'm hoping you're quite familiar with most of your times tables. If you're not, please try to learn them. I know they can be a bit boring, unless you play my fun games of course, but they really are important. It's the building blocks on which we put everything else. It's like trying to learn to read without knowing the letters of your alphabet. We really do need to know them. But assuming that you do know them, or you're at least vaguely familiar with most of them, here's how we can look at doing some multiplying. Now, I've got off here a nice big rectangle divided into lots of little squares. And my rectangle here is 4 squares high and 8 squares wide. Okay, now hopefully you could have a go at guessing how many squares there are in there. Okay, quick count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. There are 32 squares in that rectangle. And I'm guessing probably most of you would have known that anyway, because 32 is 8 times 4. There are 8 squares in each row, and there are 4 rows. So 8 lots of 4, 8 times 4 is 32, and that tells us how many squares there are. Now you might say, that's a bit easy, Batty, but the reason I'm pointing it out here is to show that we can work out the area of a rectangle as being the same thing as the two numbers multiplied together. Easy enough for small numbers like that. But what about something like this? Now this is getting a bit big down here. I'm not sure I'd want to actually count the squares in here because I think the chances of my losing count would be quite high. So rather than count the squares in here, I'd rather do it by multiplying the numbers. So the height of this rectangle, it's 5 high, and if I counted right just before I switched the camera on, it's 18 wide. So the number of squares in this rectangle is 18 times 5, or 5 times 18, both are the same. Well, I don't know about you, but I don't know my 18 times table. So what are we going to do about that? Well, various things we could do. Probably I'd go for splitting it up. Several different ways you could split it up. You could split it up into 9 wide and another 9 wide, because 18 of course is 9 plus 9, so you could do it 9 times 5 and then another 9 times 5 and do those and add them up. Definitely a good way of doing it. However, I'm going to split it into a 10 and then the rest. So this, I think, should split it so that there are 10 squares on that side and 8 squares on this side. So what I've got now is a 10 and an 8. Instead of an 18, I've split it into a 10 and an 8. So my big rectangle that's 18 times 5 is the same size as a 10 by 5 rectangle, that's that one over there, plus this one here, which is an 8 by 5, plus an 8 by 5. I'm going to put those in brackets just to kind of make sure that we know that's one rectangle over there, and that's my other rectangle here. Okay, pretty easy now. So you're going to pause the video, you're going to fill in these numbers and give me the answer. Okay, pause the video now, please. Right, we should have this. 10 times 5, pretty easy. That's 50. And 8 times 5, that's 40. And when we add the two together, we get 90 as our answer. And there are, in fact, 90 squares in there. If you had split it the other way, the 9 and the 9, we'd have had a 9 by 5. 9 times 5 is 45, and another 45. 45 plus 45, 90. So it doesn't actually matter how you split it up. You do it whatever's easy. But I'm done these videos here, always going to be splitting them into tens, because tens are dead easy, and other little bits. Okay, I'm I'm going to have a cup of my coffee. I'm going to wipe down the board, and then we're going to have a couple for you to have a go at. I'll see you in a minute. Right, here are a couple for you to have a go at. This time I haven't drawn all the little squares in the middle. We're still trying to find the area though by doing 4 times 17. And I don't know about you, but I don't know my 17 times table. So we're going to split it. And I'm going to split it about kind of there-ish. So that this bit is 10 and this bit is 7. So instead of doing 17, ooh, that pen's looking a bit bleak. Let's try a different one. Excuse me a minute. Woo. Let's try this one. Instead of doing 17 times 4, instead we're going to do 10 times 4 and a 7 times 4. Okay, so you're going to fill in those bits and get the answer. And then for this one down here, this is a really long one. So I'm actually going to split this up into 3 sections. That section is 10 wide, and actually it's a bit small for 10, isn't it? Let's move that along a bit, more like there. There we go. And that section is 10 wide, and that section is 5. So that's a 10 and a 10 and a 5. So you're going to have 3 things to add up here. Okay? So pause the video and have a go with those. Right, they should look like this. The 10 by 4, I'm actually going to write them in the boxes, I think. This section here, the 10 by 4, 10 by 4 is, let's do it in blue, 40. So that bit there is 10 by 4, which is 40. And this section here is 7 by 4. 4 sevens, 28. So that bit there's 28, if you wrote it out like this. So when we add the bits together, we get an answer of 68. I hope you got that. See, isn't it easy? 4 times 17 would be really difficult otherwise, but doing it like this, it's dead easy. You've just got to add 40 plus 28, and that's no problem. What about this one down here? We've got a 10 times 6 for that one up there. I think I'll do this one in red. This one here, we've got a 10 times 6, which is 60. Here, well, that's another 10 times 6, which is still 60. And for this last bit down here, we've got a 5 times 6. 5 times 6 is 30. So all in all, we've got a 60 plus a 60 plus a 30, if you like it adding up like this. 6 and 6 is 12, and that makes 15, 150 as your answer. You can add them up by column addition if you like. If you're not sure how to do that, pop back to see some of the other videos. So let's just have a quick recap what we did there. We took our 6 times 25, which is a bit hard, and we split up the 25 into a 10 and a 10 and a 5, because they're easy. 10 times 6, that's 60. Another 10 times 6, that's another 60, and a 5 times 6 is a 30. So this rectangle has an area of 60 units, this rectangle is another 60 units, and this rectangle is 30. So 60 squares plus 60 squares plus 30 squares makes a total of 150 squares, which means that 6 times 25 is 150. I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you next time, Batty fans.